Hello everybody, welcome, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you might be. Today, it's another live stream and I'm gonna edit some photos. So hopefully everything will work fine. This is just my second live stream ever, so I'll still have to make sure that I, make everything correct here and that it's actually live. But so far, yep, it's looking good. Just making sure that you guys can also see what I can see. So this bridge right here, actually let's switch it to the best photo in the world, this one right here. So, hello, alright, I can see the chat is working and that I'm live, that's great. Hello Alex and hello Arthur, hello Acar. Today I'm gonna do another live stream with editing some photos in Lightroom here. Feel free to ask me any questions about Lightroom photography or whatever. And meanwhile, yeah, let's just go through some of the photos. So also let me know what kind of photos you would like to see me edit. Today I'm really gonna try to edit like 2 or 3 photos rather than just one and spend 1.5 hours on it. I can see a lot of people are joining. Welcome everybody. Welcome Cropla, CatCat, Siazrul, Navi, Arthur, Taquir, Abraham, Tuan, Arthur again. Hello everybody. Sorry for the miserable pronunciation, but alright, so here's the first picture. Just let me know what kind of pictures you would like to see edited here. This is a pretty cool lake, I think. Another one of this lake. An awesome ship in Scotland. And let's see here, another kind of... I think this would really work in kind of a black and white edit, but I'll let you decide. I think I'm gonna edit one of these pictures, either this or this one. I think there is so much potential with this road and these mountains and everything, these cool clouds. But let's just see. So I'm just gonna talk to the chat while I scroll through the pictures here. Alex, hello there. How are you doing, man? Marcus, hello as well. Just realized the power of RAW. Thanks for your videos. Well, you're welcome. I'm glad you found them helpful and, always nice to convert somebody to RAW. Nail says, watching the master edits again and live is something amazing. Well, I wouldn't really call myself a master. I mean, this is a masterful picture, of course, that I've edited for April 1st. But everything else, I'm still learning myself. Even though I have certainly edited a few pictures. Then let's see here. Ali says, can you edit the bow picture? I'll see what the other people think and what I should edit at the end. This is already edited, by the way, in Portree on the Isle of Skye in Scotland. You're doing well, Alex. That's great to hear. Then Andre is saying, hello, love your videos. Hello there. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy them. Edit the ship picture. How about you? I'm doing well. I'm doing really great. I'm super excited to stream, this is something new, something different than just recording, actually interacting, talking to chat, and it's much more exciting. Hello, 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 Def. How are you doing? What camera do I use? The Canon 600D with the 18-55 kit lens, my trusty old cheapo camera setup, but it still does its job. Hello from Sylvania, Igor, hello there, how are you doing? I'm a big fan of yours. Oh, thank you very much, but yeah, thank you. One of the boat was not bad for an edit. Yeah, okay, so I might go to the bow picture. This is already edited, by the way. And this, what do you guys think about this picture right here? Like with this is, by the way, the Old Man of Storr. It's a landmark on the Isle of Skye in Scotland. It's a pretty cool overall scene, if you ask me. Maybe it would be better with the car. Also some other angles and perspective here. This is actually the HDR sequence I've edited in the last live stream and turned it into this picture right here. So I think I'm not gonna do any pictures from that location again today. So, hello from India. Dev, welcome. Hello there. How late is it there? It must be like kind of in the evening, afternoon, kind of late, right? Hello from Germany. Hello, Yannick. How are you doing? Any thoughts on mirrorless? Mirrorless. I think mirrorless is great, and I think pretty much most picture or most cameras are heading that way because there's just, you don't have to take your eye off the viewfinder to review your pictures. You can have a histogram, and I think it's gonna be, in a few years, most cameras are gonna have EVFs and are kind of gonna transform more or less into mirrorless slowly. Hello from Iceland. Matthew, welcome. I love Iceland. I'd love to visit there sometime. And yeah, cool of you watching. Alex is saying, what camera is everybody using? I'm using a Panasonic G85. That would actually be super interesting. Let us know and myself know as well what kind of camera and lens you're shooting with. Are you just shooting with your phone or are you using a mirrorless DSLR? Would be interesting to know. Hello from Sweden, greetings to Sweden, greetings to Greece, and Dev is asking, why don't you go for Optica 2.5mm? I have no idea what that is, but I see some other people are saying, so Gregors is shooting with a Lumix FC200, I actually don't know what that camera is. Then Tuan is still using the D700 from Nikon. I assume, by the way, that the Lumix is kind of a compact camera. So that is cool that you can, I mean, it really doesn't matter what kind of camera you have. You can get great pictures with pretty much everything. But certainly it is still interesting for me as a gear nerd to kind of see what you guys are shooting with. A D810 with a 14 to 70 millimeters, that is some high-end stuff there, Steve. Really nice. And hello from India, welcome Vikash. Welcome from to India, to Connecticut in the US. That's cool, Tom. And where's that? Brighton, UK, from Greenland. Are you really from Greenland, John? That would be amazing. I actually really want to visit Greenland. It's not something that many people want to visit, but I think it's an amazing, beautiful country, very remote and beautiful landscapes. Hello from Spain. I love your word question. When shooting, do you prefer to shoot with the exact exposure, underexposure, or overexposure? Alright, so I think that's actually a good question. Now, if you see pretty much most of my pictures, in the top right you can see the histogram, by the way, and I try to shoot, normal landscapes as bright as I can without clipping anything. Meaning that I really want to have as much shadow detail. I don't care about it looking natural in camera, but I just want to have it as bright as possible without having any, clipped whites or clipped sky. And that kind of is the truth in most of my pictures. If I go on here, this is an HDR, but this photo is also an HDR, so that's a terrible example. But here you can see in the histogram, I really try to shoot kind of as bright as it gets, even though I could have gone a little bit further. And same as with this one right here. And here's the same story, here kind of as well, even though maybe there is something clipped here. So I just try to shoot as bright as possible without clipping anything. Of course, if I need some shadow detail, then I'll have to shoot HDR beyond what I could get in a single exposure. So David is shooting with the Nikon D3300. That is a pretty cool crop sensor body and probably one of the best entry-level cameras if you ask me. Very great dynamic range and ISO for the money. A7R2 with Canon 17mm tilt shift lens, favorite landscape setup. I actually would love to shoot with a tilt shift lens at some point. That sounds amazing, especially in like architecture, but tilt shift lenses are very kind of expensive and not very, what's the right word here? Not very diverse. You can't really do super much with them, so that's kind of what's holding me back. Then Andre is shooting Nikon D7100 with the 10 to 24mm lens. David is again shooting the Nikon D3300 with a kit lens, kind of like me. I'm also shooting with the Canon 600D. It's like a 5-year-old camera at this point with the kit lens. Then a bunch of people saying hello, welcome everybody, sorry if I missed your message. But Greetings to Italy, to Georgia, I'm not sure if that's, you mean the state in the US or the country, Malaysia. Yes, I'm from Greenland, that is awesome. Where do you live in Greenland, if you don't mind me asking? Like, is it on the west coast, the east coast? And Boris is saying hi from Sydney, Australia. Well, you are very far in the future, actually. Isn't it like, what is it, like 2 a.m. there? And hi from India, welcome, welcome. I'll watch it later, don't have time right now. Yeah, that's a great thing about this YouTube live stream stuff. You can just watch stuff later, so you don't have to be here right now for the entire live stream. You know, just say hi, or you can leave and come back later on and watch the VOD. Then Nikon D700, what's it called again? D750, 75, I'm an idiot. I can't even pronounce it, but I know what DSLR that is. It's a pretty cool one, has also plenty of dynamic range, as pretty much most Nikon DSLRs, and a pretty good bang for the buck with the Nikkor 24-7 f2.8. Hello to Madagascar, awesome, like people from the entire world are here, even though it is probably nighttime for some of you, early morning, afternoon, whatever. But it's awesome to have all of you guys here, even if I can't reply to every single one of you, unfortunately. Hello from Saudi Arabia. Hello, Pabudu? I hope I pronounced that at least somewhat right. And hello to Portugal, Pedro. So, best DSLR under $100,000, asks Budry. I really don't know. There are so many DSLRs. I mean, $1,000. I'd go for... Yeah, it's really tough to say. Like, just look at what's out there, look at the sensor reviews, the lenses and so on, and then decide from there. Anyways, I want to bring it back kind of to the editing because, let's be honest, you probably are here because of the editing. So again, some of you guys have said I should edit this ship picture, but then, like, what afterwards? Should I just start off with this, or do you guys want to decide on another picture? Again, I think this one could really be awesome with the right amount of editing and so on. But, yeah, I guess, you know what, you saw the pictures, let's just start off with this ship picture right here. Otherwise, it's gonna be a little bit too boring. So it's midnight right here. Boris, I believe you are the guy from Australia, aren't you? Nope. You are... Well, actually, I don't know. The chat is so full. This is amazing that all of you guys are here talking. But, yeah. I'm gonna kind of focus more on the editing from now on, I believe. I still try to read the chat, but certainly kind of give you some edits as well. So, okay, now with this picture, I honestly didn't touch this at all and I didn't really prepare for this, but I think there's kind of a few different ways I could edit this into. So first of all would be black and white and probably go for a very dramatic and, you know, kind of dark look. But then I almost feel there's kind of the, you know, the color adds a certain coldness and harshness to the entire picture, especially this very bluish color rather than kind of a neutral color. So I do believe that I personally prefer actually a colorful picture, even if I would maybe go into the minus vibrance and, you know, kind of adjust it accordingly. But I certainly think this would be great for kind of a dramatic edit, a very dark edit, something like this, just roughly speaking, and not really something very bright and high key. 4 p.m. in Poland. Well, you're on the same time zone as me then. And Rogelio is asking, sorry, the names are really small here, is asking, is the Canon 100D good for a newbie? Isn't the Canon 100D like a 10-year-old camera? I mean, it might still be alright to start off with. I really have no idea if I'm honest. If you have the money, I'd probably go for like a used, I don't know, like a T3i, T2i, or some older Nikon camera that still has quite a lot of megapixels but isn't super new, and just get it used off of eBay or something. Just be careful if you actually buy something used, of course. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna start editing here, go into the minus highlights as I always like to do, and especially for these clouds, that's gonna look amazing. Now with the overall exposure, actually there's a thing that I like to do, and that is to go quite a lot into the minus exposure and just bring up the whites and see what they do. Now here, I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't really work, but in some other landscape pictures it can actually work. So I think I'm just gonna put them at around 30 and then bring up the exposure kind of, still a little bit into the minus, because again, I want to have it very dark and dramatic, but not quite super dark as well. Then shadows, just a bit of plus shadows, and I really think I'm gonna have to work a lot with vignetting and local adjustments here, because for now I'm mainly gonna try to make this ship look really good, as well as the distance and the mountains and all of that. So clarity, oh man, look at this. Now this is a really good example of how clarity can work in a picture, and yeah, I think I'm actually gonna add an insane amount, like 70 clarity. I don't think I've ever done that before, but it just looks so good on this photo. Yeah, that is amazing. Now, with the blacks though, this is actually kind of tough, because it is always kind of a challenge if you want to have something very dark and dramatic, because at the same time, you can't just go into the minus blacks, because then you're gonna have huge chunks of your pictures that's completely black, and you don't want that. So what I think I'm gonna do here is actually just go a little bit into the minus blacks and contrast. You know what? Let's actually go into the minus contrast so I can go further with the minus blacks, and then at the same time go into the tonal curve and bring up the shadows here. Can I do that? Yeah, a little bit I can, and then I just have to kind of play around with all of these sliders combined, so I actually get the look that I want. And if I show you the before and after already, especially kind of the close-up view is much more interesting already. So let's take another look at the chat. What do you think of the Canon 750D? I mean, I'm sure it's pretty good. It's probably very close to the previous generations of that lineup as well. So maybe save a few bucks and go for an older version. But yeah, you have to, look at the specs yourself and decide whether it is worth for you to pay the extra money. Then Steve is asking if buying a better camera, wait for the latest and greatest, then buy what it replaced, best value. Well, yeah. It depends. Sometimes cameras just kind of evolve in a very slow way, and one generation to the other is, not a big difference. And sometimes there's a huge jump, such as when the D800 came out. I mean, but you can certainly save some money by going for a little bit of an older used model that might still be better than kind of something that you would get with the same amount of money new. Then Steve is saying 35 millimeters, a little bit wider than 50. Yes, indeed. Are you ever going to do a face reveal? Well, I think I am. Not on here. I'm actually planning on doing a photography on location shoot. I've actually already shot the entire video and photo. I just have to edit it, and you're gonna see the face in there once I am done with that, which who knows when that's ever gonna be, but hopefully sometime, in the next month. So you're gonna see my face there, but until then, it's gonna be a mystery. What microphone should I buy if I would start a YouTube channel? That's actually a really cool question, Noah. Now, a lot of people will tell you to go for like a Blue Yeti or a Rode Podcaster, and these are great microphones. I'm actually at the very moment using a Rode Micro, is it called, or what is it called again? Like it's like a $40 microphone, but it sounds pretty good, especially with some editing. Right now you guys hear me, raw without any voice enhancing, so it's kind of a little bit more tinny than on my regular videos. But yeah, it's either called the Rode Video Micro, I believe it's the name. and it's like $40–50. It's pretty good and very good to start off with. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of YouTube review videos about microphones that I've also watched before deciding to go with this one. So it's all about your budget and what you are looking for, whether it is something you can put on a camera or something to just plug into the computer. Then let's see if I can see some other questions here. Can you get good quality shots with an APS-C format? Absolutely. I mean, there are some really high-end APS-C cameras, such as the Sony a6500 or, you know, the Pro Nikon lineup. It definitely has, you know, it is a difference in terms of the whole view and how you look at the scene, or how it looks, the picture in itself, how wide it is, of course. But in pure quality, even though in theory you're gonna have better quality with full frame, in practice it's mostly gonna be about the glass. And, you know, if you shoot right, you have the right glass, then it's not gonna be super high of a difference if you have a sensor of the same megapixels in the same price range. But, you know, there are some more technical differences, but generally speaking, you can definitely get great pictures with an APS-C sensor. Then, let's see, Sebastian is asking or saying, seriously, it's JPEG, you won't get much out of it. I think you're replying to somebody else. Yeah, I would absolutely recommend you to shoot RAW regardless of your camera or budget or whatever. RAW will give you much more detail, much more flexibility all of the time. Anyways, let's go back to the actual editing here and bring down some of that vibrance, because even though I like this blue to emphasize the cold and dramatic harshness, I still think it shouldn't be too prominent. So I'm gonna go around -10 here, and with the tonal curve, really want to bring up the highlight slider here, especially if you look at the sky in this very bright part. You can see how it looks differently. That is a great way to just bring up some of these bright parts in the sky. And of course, as always, you want to make sure that you don't go overboard with it. Then the light slider, let's see what I want to do here. I actually don't want to make this, you know, super dynamic like this, because this is a very dark and dramatic scene. So I kind of want to, you know, keep the highlight, what's the right word? I want to keep the highlights kind of in control and don't make them have too much attention of the entire picture, because if I would go something like this, I might get away without clipping anything, but at the same time it is kind of taken away from the whole mood. So it's always very important, despite some people saying that you should always, you know, just stop before anything clips with the highlights. Sometimes, depending on the mood, it is well worth to go way below that. And that is also what I'm doing right here. But continuing with the darks in the tonal curve, I think, look at this look. This looks so good by bringing down the darks. I love it. Yeah, okay. Here's another before and after, and here you can see the raw file actually has more dynamic, more brightness than the picture afterwards, but I really want to go for this very dramatic and kind of muted overall look. Then let's see here, the chat. Like, maybe you guys, you know, if you see a question that you know the answer to, just address it in the chat. I'm sure a lot of people will be thankful for that. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna continue the edit here, because again, I want to kind of pack 2 or 3 pictures into this live stream and not just one super long edit as I did last time. So I'm gonna go on here, of course, remove the chromatic aberration and enable the profile corrections for my trusty old kit lens here. And at the same time, a super important thing I can already tell you that is gonna be vignetting. So right now I'm just kind of trying to figure out how much vignetting I want to add here in the effects tools and how much I want to do in the local adjustments. But I think, yeah, definitely bringing the midpoint closer to the center and making everything kind of faded out. So about minus I think actually I can go around -20 here. And from before to after, absolutely love that look. Certainly I'm gonna have to enhance some of these areas with the dodge and burning, but overall I really like that look. And with that being said, actually, let's go into the local adjustments right away. Go a bit into the plus exposure, plus whites here. And, you know, usually I do dodge and burning at the end, but right here I really want to just make this ship a bit brighter. At least have some of that shadow detail in there. And, you know, that's the amazing thing about Lightroom. You can just have local adjustments, and if you're working with a RAW file, then it doesn't really matter what you did previously. So always also worth to zoom in, see if all of the detail stuff looks nice, and if there's something in particular that you want to, you know, do in a very local area. This should also be a little bit brighter. Now with the entire dodge and burning, I do think I could bring a little bit of warmth in there even, especially on this mountain, and just make this a little bit brighter. Perhaps the village down there as well, and then kinda, you know, just certain parts of this boat, adjusting the tint as well. And this is really trial and error, just trying where does it work, where does it not work, and then adjust everything accordingly. Also want to make some of these snow parts in the mountain up there a bit more bright and just interesting, and duplicating the filter again to bring it over there. So I truly think that this is not the kind of picture where I need to do too much editing, because you can really kind of ruin such a dramatic and darkish, gloomy picture if you go too far with everything. So I'm just gonna add some more graduated filters here and go into the minus exposure just for the foreground to not have super much attention here on the beach, but much more on the ship and on the mountains. And perhaps, you know, because the light is definitely coming from there, at least it looks like it, I think I can really work with that. So I'm gonna add a graduated filter for the sky for the top left portion here, and go a bit into the plus exposure. Again, don't really want to work too much with the whites, but instead more with the actual exposure slider. Perhaps even go a bit into the plus shadow, so all of these dark clouds don't seem quite as dark. And then fine-tuning all of the other sliders. Yeah, I do believe that should work pretty well. So now from before just that one slider to after, it's already more bright there. And that allows me to also go to the right side and to the exact opposite. Go a bit into the minus exposure, perhaps mix that with some contrast, minus blacks. And, you know, there would also be some opportunity for color difference, perhaps as more it goes towards the right. It should be a little bit of a darker blue tone. So I'm just gonna add some of that here in the color. And of course adjust everything accordingly. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good if you ask me. So just to show you from before any graduated filters to after. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna read the chat in a second, guys. I'm just kind of focused on the edit right here. But with that being said, I actually don't think there's too much more to be done. Maybe, you know, just kind of a plus exposure rail filter on the right, on this peak, but not too much. So, perhaps a little bit plus saturation even, with this foreground with some warmth as well. So yeah, I think this is where I'm gonna end it. Like, if I show you the before and after, it's not a super huge difference, but the main things that I wanted to do here, such as, you know, having the bright parts less bright and having some of these dark corners, I think it is actually pretty close to what I envisioned. Like, if you have any suggestions on what I should do here on this picture before I say that I'm done, then just let me know. Meanwhile, I'm gonna read the chat again. So, great photos, thank you very much, Mixo. I would love to be keen to see Yuri edit one of my raw files. That would be the best way to send a raw file, 20 plus megabytes we are using. Well, I actually did viewer edits in the past, but it was also always kind of a hassle to get the files and edit them, and I have so many of my own pictures that I shot, so I actually don't do that at the moment. But if I'm not gonna, maybe sometime in the future, but at the moment I can't take any suggestions or any submissions of photos, unfortunately. Sorry about that, Alex. Then Sebastian, this is one of the best examples. I assume you meant if your composition sucks, editing won't help much. But if this kind of composition, you can make it look everything. You can add everything to an image. Love this picture, Yuri. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's really editing, even though I do some of these videos where I say, bad raw file into great picture. It's more like a decent raw file into a better picture, an amazing picture into an even more amazing picture. You want to start off with a good raw file to get an even better picture and just use editing as an enhancement and not so much as a, salvation or saving the picture. So yeah, but a lot of people really enjoy these edits because I show, the limits and capabilities of Lightroom and raw files. Then Steve is saying that Tobias has said it would be fun to see Yuri's processing versus one of ours. Yeah, I see what you're saying. This would actually be really fun to just like give out the raw file and kind of have you guys edit it and then have a reveal. Yeah, that might actually be a good idea. Thank you, Tobias. I might do a video or a live stream like that sometime in the future. I'll definitely keep that in mind. Then let me just scroll through chat again, going down here. That's okay, completely understandable. Yup. Then the right side of the picture is it looking good cause you make overgraduate and filter. Please fade that. You think that it's too harsh. Yeah, okay, I can see that. But actually what I would do to equate out the harshness is even add another filter with minus exposure, just a small one over here though. And then, it kind of fixes itself. And maybe, just maybe, I could even grab another filter over the very top left and again add even more plus exposure. So if I would bring another, rail filter in here, perhaps with some plus shadows, I think I could actually make it work. Because I do like the overall look of the entire photo and the lighting difference, but perhaps it's just the boat that is kind of, a little bit too dark even after all of these graduated filters. But I certainly think that these rail filters should help. Yeah, I do think this looks better, even though I might have to go into the minus saturation for that very right graduated filter there. Then let's see, the blue color us over. I don't really know what that means. I think you may have overdone the right side with the minus exposure. Do you really think so? I actually kind of like it. It is very dramatic for sure. Yeah, maybe it's just me, I like to over-edit pictures, so let's see what you other guys think about this. Then Ali is asking, who is your favorite YouTube vlogger, photography? YouTube vlogger? There aren't really that many YouTube vloggers that vlog about photography, right? Like the number one would immediately be Thomas Heaton. I absolutely love his videos, incredibly high production value, incredibly high quality and very inspirational. But if you would put YouTube vlogger about photography away and just say vlogger, then I would probably, well, pretty much for sure say Casey Neistat, because his vlogs are just amazing. Even if he doesn't, do photography, you can still learn so much about composition, and certainly if you want to do videos yourself, then Casey Neistat is amazing. Then Steve is asking, have you ever used luminosity masking technique? Luminosity masking? You mean like just going into the HSL tool, go into the luminance here and kind of, play around with that? I rarely do that because I think graduated filters and, local adjustments of other sorts and the highlight slider does a better job. But, I mean, you could definitely incorporate it in your editing, if that's what you meant. Then, hi from Costa Rica says, Eric, welcome. Hello from, what's it called? So the message went by. Okay. So AW says the blue color is over there. So you mean like the right is too bluish compared to the left? Yeah. Actually, I think that is a very good point. Rather than the exposure being the real problem, it is the saturation of the entire right side. Because naturally speaking, saturation is always coming from the light source. So the right being super oversaturated doesn't really work. And I might even go to this graduated filter or even add another one over the left side here and just reset everything except for the saturation. Maybe even mix that with a little bit of warmth. Yeah, I do believe that should work a lot better. Certainly have to fine tune some of that here, but I believe that should work a bit better. No, Steve is saying luminosity masking is a Photoshop technique. I actually don't know about that. I use Photoshop very rarely. I do most of my things in Lightroom, but I might look into that. It's almost like HDR. Huh, sounds interesting. Maybe I'll check it out. Greetings from Serbia. Miroslav, welcome. Greetings to Serbia. Hopefully you're doing well. And many, says, what makes images pop up the most? Well, what makes them pop up the most is if you have a lot of brightness detail, a lot of shadow detail, very contrasty, very saturated. So it's kind of like, let's just see if I have another picture here. Yeah, if I would make this picture in a very boring, punchy way, then I would just do something like this and kind of make some nice exposure, contrast, add a ton of vibrance and saturation, add some color temperature. And, this might not be the perfect example, but it is certainly, very easy to make a picture very punchy and boring. But if you actually want to do it in a sort of natural way, then it is definitely a little bit harder. But just, making stuff punchy is not that hard. It's mainly about the basic adjustments, if I'm honest. So then Mixo is asking, do you use a tripod? Your photos are tack sharp. I used to use a tripod for like 95% of my pictures. Nowadays, I'm still using a tripod. That's a kid outside the window running around. But yeah, nowadays I'm still using a tripod quite a lot. But for example, I can actually tell you which ones are shot with a tripod. This one is not shot with a tripod, handheld. This tripod, this is tripod. This is older tripod. This one is also tripod. This one is handheld. This one is also handheld. These ones are with tripod, handheld. Handheld, tripod, this picture right here. What do you guys think about the April 1st edit, by the way? It seems a lot of people actually took that one a little bit too serious. But this one is even without a tripod, if you shoot with a fast enough shutter speed and you kind of know how far you can push things and you have a steady hand, then you can certainly get a lot of great tack sharp pictures, even shot handheld, especially if you're shooting with kind of a low megapixel camera as I do. Hello from the Philippines. Sherwin, welcome. I actually want to visit Asia at some point, but I'm not sure when or where exactly I'll go. But certainly amazing, different culture and everything there. Trebiti is asking, can you review my Instagram? My name is Tim Photography Official. I don't really do Instagram reviews, but feel free to just send like 2 or 3 pictures on Facebook on the private message, and I'll take a look at them and tell you what I think about them. Then Kevin is saying, check out my Jimmy McIntyre for luminosity masking. He developed Ray of Pro, also Greg Ben's Lumenzia. Yeah, I'll definitely check out that luminosity masking. I've never heard about it, but it seems to be interesting for sure. April 1st edit was hilarious. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I actually had so much fun shooting that video, but yeah, a lot of people actually thought it was serious, even though I had like 10 things that gave it away on purpose in there, but I still think it is quite funny. You were really upset April 1st, am I mistaken? No, I wasn't upset at all. It was the entire video was a joke about mainly my photography and editing, but just kind of a joke about, I don't know, people who think that any sort of editing is not good. So it's really just a joke. I wasn't upset at all. And hello from Canada. Welcome, Benjamin. I hope you're enjoying the stream. Yeah, I think with that being said though, since you guys don't really have any other any other suggestions, I guess, I think I'm just gonna say that I'm done with this picture right here. It's certainly not a huge edit compared to some of my other videos, but I'm still quite happy with how it turned out. Especially with the whole, dramaticness of it. In the cloud, there is a huge difference, of course. So yeah, let's continue and try to find another picture here to edit. Again, just gonna show you guys kind of all of my edits, and you guys can decide which one I should go for. Now, this one is already edited. This one is also already edited. And this one, like, what do you guys think about this picture right here with the road, either with or without the car? I think I could also make something pretty cool out of this, but if you guys are kind of more in here for the classical, dramatic sunset edits or whatever, then let's actually see. I don't even have a single picture that I could do that with here. It's more kind of dramatic and artistic ones, but yeah. Maybe this one, but I'm not quite sure. This is already, like, there's not going to be super much editing if I choose to use that raw file right here. Then, Steve says, might be the biggest technique I learned about last year. Yeah, like, it must be a really cool thing then. A lot of people seem to really like it. Do you have any Night City images to edit? I haven't prepared anything Night City picture-ish at the moment for this live stream. I've got this picture, but this is already edited in just a very fast way. But I might do something like that in a future video. I've already done some videos where I edit nightscape city pictures. I like it more without the car. I see. The one with the castle. The thing with the castle here is that there's really not going to be super much editing about it, because I don't really know what to do here. It already looks kind of fake edited already, even though I haven't done a single thing to it. A thing that I could probably do is like bring down the highlights, bring up the shadows a little bit, but other than that, it's really, the color is great, the lighting is great. I wouldn't really know what to edit here if I'm really honest. Please do the one with the castle, says David again. Yes, night pictures would be fine. Most edits seem always to get darker. Can you do an edit where things are brighter, clean and sharp? Do you mean like if you adjust sliders, things get darker? Well, you really have to compensate for that with certain, sliders. For example, if I would bring up the shadow slider, bring down the highlights, and add a lot of contrast, it might be a little bit dark, but you can just raise the exposure, you could raise the blacks, you could do so many things to counteract that. It's just kind of, exposure, you have to adjust that after you've edited the picture a lot with certain sliders, but it's not really a very hard thing to do. The other castle with the bird, let's actually see. I haven't even paid so much close attention to that photo. Yeah, that might be pretty cool as well. But this again would be in a rather dark and dramatic way. Yeah, maybe. At the moment I'm thinking either this picture right here, or where is it? It's actually down there, isn't it? Yeah, this picture I showed you previously of the seagull on the castle, or this one right here. Where am I from? I'm from Switzerland, Miroslav. Do you have an HDR photo? I already edited an HDR photo in the last live stream, so today I really tried to kind of make it a little bit faster and edit some more pictures and not spend super much time on a single file. And do you stick with a very low ISO settings? I always try to use the lowest amount of ISO possible. By the way, in Lightroom, always on the top right, in the histogram, you can see the ISO. So here ISO 100, ISO 100, then here ISO 200, this terrible picture, again ISO 100, ISO 200, 200, 100, like the lowest amount of ISO you can pretty much get away with. I like the raw picture. You know what, I think I'm just gonna start off with the raw picture, and maybe if I have time I'll go back to this one right here and try to figure out a way to edit this, this castle picture. So, okay, with the raw picture, with or without the car? Without, without. I personally would go without because it seems kind of more desolate, but it's all up to you. I'll let you decide. I'm just scrolling through the chat in the meanwhile and trying to see if I can find any questions. But without, says Steve, no car, without. Okay, so it seems that it's very, very clear. Now let's get to the actual editing then. And, black and white, I believe that it is very simplistic. You have maybe more attention on the lighting as well as the shapes, of course. But at the same time, the color kind of plays a role in dividing up the entire picture and making it more organized, because you have like color here, then the division of the gray road, again, different color, then you have the blues here. So I believe that black and white also looks good, but I think color would win at the end. Gray skies and land will be interesting to edit. Yup. But this one adds nothing in my opinion. Well, not every picture has to have a super immediate foreground element or something like that, if you ask me. It can just be kind of negative space and about the overall mood rather than really the subject in itself. Color, of course. Hello from Singapore. Welcome, Glenn. The colors are great. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna edit this in color and at least start off with this. Now, in terms of the overall mood, so I'm just gonna show you like a quick example. The first one would be to make it quite bright, bring up the shadows, make it relatively overall bright and punchy, and kind of make it look something like this. And then grab a graduated filter, going to minus exposure for the sky, and just kind of go along with that and make it very punchy in its own way. And then the other way to edit it would be to go again more darkish, more moody, and really kind of try to bring some dramaticness in the entire photo. Perhaps, you know, change around some of the saturation, minus vibrance, something like that. So personally, I think this one looks much more interesting than the previous one. Oh, you were talking about the car. I see, yeah, the car doesn't really, you know, add anything to the picture. It's just like, I guess, you know, an additional element, but it takes away of some of the mood. Color, yeah. I think if you guys aren't saying anything, perhaps editing for mood, yeah. I think I've got so many pictures and edits out there where I just go kind of for the sensationalistic, you know, super bright and saturated look at everything, that I think this is kind of a nice change to go for a kind of different look. So, alright, I think I'm gonna go into the minus exposure here by a little bit, like half a stop, then actually bring down the highlights. And with the white, I'm not even sure if I want to bring them up so much, because again, like this is already taking away some of the mood compared to this. It's much more, what's it called, like more gloomy like this. So I don't really want to go too far with that. At the same time, I don't believe that this really works if I would make it super contrasty and, you know, kind of the dark, like this kind of look, but rather a very maybe plus blacks minus contrast kind of look like this. Yeah, something like that, and to just add local adjustments later on. And clarity, I can already tell that this is gonna have a huge impact in this photo. So I think around 40-50 clarity. Yeah, not too much again. I can always add some in the local adjustments. But then the vibrance and saturation is probably one of the most tough sliders here because, okay. I actually got an idea. So overall, I am going to go a little bit into the plus vibrance, but at the same time, I'm gonna grab a graduated filter here and go into the minus saturation for the background. So the idea here would be that the foreground is a little bit more saturated than the background, and that it really washes out as it goes further away. And then, you know, the foreground is still not super oversaturated, but it's still a very subtle difference that I think works pretty well here. So let's continue to the tonal curve. Now, at least a little bit of plus highlights here. Then bringing down some of the overall lights, and what if I would actually go into the minus darks and in exchange bring up the shadows? Yeah, I like that a lot. So let's just do that. And from before the tonal curve to after, yeah, really just fine-tuning, not something super crazy, but this is kind of what a lot of the editing is. Now with this, I do believe that I could play around with the hue of this entire grass tone and perhaps make it even more reddish like this and adjust the entire saturation of it. Specifically, kind of go a bit more into the yellows and less into the greens like this, and with the luminance a little bit into the minus here as well. And also bring down a little bit of the blue luminance in the sky, although nothing crazy. And if I show you the before and after, much closer to what I want it to look like. Perhaps a little bit greenish, isn't it? Like a little bit greenish tint. So let's go into the what's it called? Into the magenta tones here. That definitely looks quite good. Especially the grass, like look at the grass, it's much more pronounced and much more interesting afterwards. A bright edit would fight the overcast day. Yep, you're right, like overcast really calls for kind of dramatic and dark edits, especially if you have clouds like that. Although you can certainly, you know, break that rule as well. But for now, I think I'm gonna go into the split toning and just see what I want to do here. And yeah, perhaps even more into this orangey, you know, really love this orange tone, although not too much saturation. And then go into the shadows and make them even more bluish. And as I always said, that this technique really helps to add differentiation from the bright parts to the dark parts. And showing the before and after, it's nothing huge, but it does help the photo if you look very closely. Then going into the graduated filters actually, because you know, all of this down here is more about the detail, if you zoom in, if you want to print a picture, but it's not so much about the overall mood and look of it. So perhaps just a bit of vignetting here, because I want to add most of my vignetting in the local adjustments for more control in this picture, but just a little bit overall vignetting might even help me. So yeah, let's go into the graduated filters now, and I'm just trying to kind of figure out what I want to go for, but a little bit into the let me just try out a bunch of different things real quick and then decide what I want to go for. Yeah, I believe I'm gonna go into the minus exposure right here for the foreground, for the bottom left, and make it something like this. Now, I don't want to have the entire foreground dark, really just the immediate foreground, you know, down here. And then grab another one for the sky. Now, the sky isn't too dark or too bright for me, so I'm mainly going to try to make it more dramatic and contrasty by bringing out that cloud structure. And I'm going to do that with plus contrast, minus blacks, and some clarity as well. Now, yeah, the thing is, if I would go into the minus exposure here, it would really kind of set the whole sky and the entire picture off balance. So I don't want to go for that. Instead, maybe just a bit of minus exposure and in exchange some plus whites. And going further with the exposure, now definitely towards the right should be a bit brighter than towards the left. Now, at the same time, I don't want to go too far, you know? Yeah, like the thing is with these live streams, it's really much less professional because I'm editing a picture one-on-one, and usually in a video, if I don't know exactly what to do, I would just pause it and kind of figure it out and then, you know, cut it together. But this is maybe a little bit more boring and long, but at the same time more authentic, and you see the entire workflow, which might be even more interesting and more informative for your own workflow, perhaps. Something like that, though, and then again grabbing another minus exposure graduated filter over the left, mainly the sky actually, so not too much of the foreground that I've already adjusted. And going here, minus exposure, really love that. So this is before any graduated filters so far, and this is after. It is always nice to see the difference, because then you kind of see if you've done something too far or not far enough. So let's adjust some of these. Yeah, just the very right part, you know, of the road. And I believe that overall speaking, this is pretty much most in terms of the graduated filters I'm gonna do to this photo. Now, a thing that I'm debating actually is whether I want to go into the dehaze here. Now, I'm not going to do it globally probably, because, yeah. Actually, this might look pretty good. Oh my god, I didn't think that it would. Yeah, just a little bit of dehaze even works great for the foreground. Dehaze is really kind of a very structured contrast, similar to clarity, but it does a sort of different job. So let's fine-tune everything here, perhaps even more dehaze in the sky. A little bit more like 5, 6, 7. And then grab another graduated filter over this entire, you know, distant part. Go a little bit into the minus saturation even. And have this entire, you know, foreground being saturated and background being way less saturated. Kind of thing being even more pronounced. So let's grab another filter for the immediate foreground here and go a bit into the plus exposure. I'm really just trying out things and playing with the entire exposure and colors and so on. So yeah, I actually really love how the background is more blue rather than go for a, very universal look, have kind of a different stare and make it seem more distant that way. Just like that. And actually, a thing that I haven't really touched so much on is to make the very top of the sky, really just the very top, a lot darker to close out the picture, and then grab another graduated filter and do the exact same thing. You can hold down Shift key, by the way, and have a perfectly straight filter, and again go into the minus exposure here. So now, again, I'm going to show the difference from before any graduated filters to after and fine-tune everything accordingly. And yeah, just something like that, I think. Perhaps a bit more green, or it's really hard to fine-tune, but I think this actually looks pretty good. Too much blue in the sky, you think, Sundays? Huh? The thing is, it's always tough to have a lot of differentiation and at the same time have something kind of really work with the rest of the picture. So what I'm actually thinking at the moment is perhaps going into the, the local color here with the graduated filter for the sky and just kind of seeing what I could do here. Perhaps something like that? Yeah, really just a little bit. But with that, actually, I do think I'm gonna say I'm done with the graduated filters and just gonna add some dodge and burning from now on, because, again, I'm really paying a lot of attention in this photo specifically because I don't want to go overboard with it. It is such a subtle lighting scheme, such an overcast picture, that it is really vital that I don't go overboard with everything. So just some plus exposure over here, perhaps over there as well. And, on the hill, kind of a very narrow filter with quite a lot of plus whites here. So the main thing, I believe, is going to be minus exposure from now on. Again, with the rail filters. And just kind of go in some areas here, make this one a little bit darker, and make even the coastline right here, just a bit more contrasty and dark. And perhaps do the same thing with the side of the road. Yeah, something like this. Then right click duplicating and just have something like that. I believe I'm actually gonna say that I'm done here, because even though this isn't like super, dramatic or whatever, or what's it called, like super sensationalistic, again, with all of this vibrant saturation and so on, but it does have some very subtle textures to it, some very subtle overall color differences that I think just work for this kind of picture. So is there anything, like to all of you guys who are watching live right now, is there anything you would do to this picture? I'm just taking suggestions, because a lot of times in my past edits on these live streams, a lot of you guys actually have, pointed out some things that I have completely overseen. So meanwhile, I'm answering some question. Now begins the funny dodge and burn part. Well, it's actually not that funny for this picture, is it? Here's from before any dodge and burning, here after. Yeah, a very, very boring dodge and burning, but nevertheless, a little bit of difference is still better than nothing. Then Alex is saying, thanks for your love stream, Yuri. Glad to be a part of it. Getting late, take care all. Yeah, have a nice evening, man. Glad you could join, and again, to all of you watching, if you can't watch live right now, you can watch the recording of it on YouTube at any time. Then Steve is saying, you have taught me to be fearless in Lightroom, thanks. Well, you know, all you do is really just do adjustments to a raw file. You can always go back into the history, go to the raw file itself, and, you know, start over again. Really don't be too afraid. A lot of times when I first started, I would also kind of, you know, just do certain sliders because I didn't know some of the other sliders. But eventually I just tried out things and, you know, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But again, since this is just digital, you can always go back into your history. Add color to the sky, maybe magenta tint. I don't know, like, I don't think this is really the kind of picture where that sort of thing would work. Yeah, like, it would just be kind of fake because it isn't shot at sunset or close to it, so it really doesn't look that great. But what I think I might actually do is just grab a graduated filter over here and go for a slightly kind of light bluish tint, you know, really just a hint, but it does give the whole difference of the sky. So if you look very closely and you're watching this in HD, you're probably gonna see the difference from before to after that one filter. And while I'm at it already, maybe even go over the very top left here and do the exact opposite and kind of go into a more darkish blue. But want to make sure that I don't go into the purples, and again, really just like 2, 3, 4, 5% saturation, and that is already looking a little bit better. Then you guys are suggesting, Joe is saying to contrast more with the orange foreground. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I don't really think I should do that. A hint more saturation, so let's actually try it out, why not? Like a little bit more saturation. It's really tough, you know. I mean, yeah, I really don't know. Like, it is. I believe, personally, I think it looks pretty good how it is right now without much saturation, but perhaps you guys think it differently. So do you think this is better or this right here? It's tough. Then Danny is saying the sky on the right side of the peak seems to have a bit of halo. Right side of the peak. Ooh, what do you mean? Like, let's see here, 1:1. There is some chromatic aberration, really not much though, but I can't figure out a halo, if I'm honest, anywhere here. Like this one, yeah, but this is naturally because there's kind of a cloud, you know, right up here, so it's not really a halo. And other than that, I don't really see anything. 25 saturation, perfect. Desaturated look better for the atmosphere. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. My personal preference is more saturated, but I like all my photos like that. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen any of my previous videos, you will know that I also love saturation, but it just doesn't really seem needed for this picture right here for some reason. Because it is so dramatic and so gloomy overall. Yeah, just a little bit more greenish tint perhaps even for the sky. The halo got corrected in adding another graduated filter. Alright, I see. I like saturation at 38. Then do you have a website? Yep, I do have a website, YuriFineart.com. Thank you. You're welcome, Boris. Do you crop maybe the bottom a little bit? Is whole distracting? Oh, you think the hole is distracting? I think this is actually one of the best things about the foreground. It adds kind of an anchor point that is not overpowering. So by just cropping it away, I mean, it would get more attention automatically on the rest of the picture, but I almost feel like there's some sort of depth and, you know, space missing if I do that. Let's check the chat again, making sure I don't miss anything. There's some dust in sensor. Yep, I saw that as well. This dust spot right here, should get rid of that right away. For getting rid of like stuff like that is, you know, not very severe, by the way, I would recommend you to go on to heal setting in the spot removal tool, feather around 50, opacity at 100, and then size just according to the spot, and hopefully Lightroom will do a good job. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it's almost, you know, indistinguishable from the rest of the sky. I mean, then maybe remove the sign. No, I really love this sign because it kind of, you know, brings you into the picture from the road right here to the sign, then going on with the lines and the road as well, into the rest of the photo, you know, to the lake. Maybe you have a good point in terms of, you know, pointing that out to me, because perhaps it is a little bit too saturated. So let's actually add kind of a what's it called again? An adjustment brush here. Go a little bit into the minus saturation, and I really have to watch out to not go too far overboard this actual sign here. But with it, it will take away kind of less attention and be more blending in with the rest of the picture by just having a little bit of minus saturation here. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Schulte says, love your videos, I have learned many great techniques. Well, I'm glad you did. You know, I'm always very happy to hear that these videos are actually helpful to people and could impact their workflow in some sort of way. So you're very welcome, and thank you very much for watching. The photo edit just proves how everyone has different tastes. Yeah, like, I think photo editing is such a... That's why the idea from before, I think, is so cool, because everybody edits differently. Even if you have a similar style, a photo and the same raw file in different hands will always come out so differently, because there are just, you know, numerous, unlimited different ways and possibilities you can do something. Then Danny Carey says, how did you remove brush edges? Oh, yeah, sorry for not covering that. So the way you can do that, I hope you can actually see that, the brush right here. But if I show you the O key right there, and if I would just add something random in the picture right here, you can hold down the Alt key, and you will get a minus adjustment brush, so you can just brush away something that you don't want anymore. It's a very easy thing, but certainly very, very useful. Brighten up the area around the sign slightly, maybe. No, I really think that the sign is already kind of standing out enough with this white surface. So I don't want to make it, you know, if I would just add kind of a plus exposure graduated, or what's it called again? Yeah, rail filter here, then it would be too much attention grabbing, and it would kind of lose its balance with the rest of the picture, with the rest of the compositional elements, if you ask me. I want to send you a picture, and I want to edit like those pictures, how I send you, please. At the moment I don't do any viewer edits. I did in the past, but I can really just recommend you to, you know, watch videos, not only from me, but also from other guys who make YouTube videos, and just learn and, you know, try out different sliders, learn for yourself, and at the end you're gonna learn much more that way than if you have somebody else edit your picture. Make the road sign lighter so it stands out more. Nope, really don't want to do that. And then Frank is saying, greetings from Tirol. Well, greetings to Tirol. Vielen Dank auch. It's so weird to suddenly speak German, but thank you very much, Frank. I'm glad you enjoy the videos. Yeah, but with that being said, let's actually take another look, because I don't have any idea how many people are watching here. Still 100 people watching? this is kind of crazy. Like, the chat has kind of died down, so I thought that the entire stream is kind of leaving and going away. But if still 100 people are watching, then I might even consider editing another picture. But let's see, what time is it? It's 5 p.m. So the stream is already like an hour long? Yeah, Sebastian, you can definitely also type in German. I'm just gonna kind of translate it into English because, well, most people here understand English better than German, so I can, answer a question for many others as well. Chat is admiring your edit. Well, I'm not sure about that. Guys, if you want to have me edit another photo, then talk up in the chat, let me know that you're actually here, because otherwise I think I might call it a day. It has been an hour after all since I started the stream already. Steve is saying go for it, then Marshall is saying just turned in. Welcome Marshall, welcome to the stream. Joe edit another, David edit another one, it's so fun to watch. Okay, so chat is going on. Yup, edit another one more would be cool. Nathan, Miroslav, Alexandru, Nats, Josh, go for it. Just a 20-minute. Yeah, okay, I got you. I think I'm gonna edit another one, although that's gonna be the last one for today. It's cool that you guys are actually enjoying this live stream, because sometimes I feel like it is a little bit boring because I can't talk to the chat while editing, but if you guys enjoy it, then that's great, because I certainly really enjoy, doing these without any edit in post, the video edit, and just, being live, uncut. That's pretty cool. So now I always, I can barely talk anymore, but now I just have to decide which photo I want to edit. So there would be, a bunch of these. This one, probably not that amazing edit, same with this one. This could be pretty interesting, but it wouldn't be a huge difference to the raw file. Kind of same story with that, already edited that one at the start of the stream. Then this... You know what, let's actually check that out just real quick. Black and white, kind of boring, a little bit too bluish, but if I would go for perhaps... Yeah, I don't know, I could do something very artistic here, but it might be a little bit boring to watch. This one is a photo that I really love, but, there wouldn't be super much to edit here, so I'm not quite sure. Just let me know which kind of photo you would like to see me edit. This one would also be very simple to edit, and it wouldn't really be, super exciting because there's not much color, not much stuff in here. This one, as I said that previously in the live stream, it's not really super much to edit here because it already looks pretty good. This one, what about this one right here? Castle and Bird. Yes, the boat. I already edited the boat at the start of the stream, so you guys can actually scroll back here on YouTube, or you can even, watch the live stream afterwards, the recording of it, that will be posted to YouTube as well. This one is kind of a sunset photo, but yeah, it would be kind of boring as well, if you ask me, not the greatest subject. Oh, you mean this one, perhaps, but I've already, this picture is already edited. I just haven't done it on live stream. Yes, perfect. Castle and bird, do the castle, yep, castle or boat, bird and castle. Alright, I think you guys decided. So let's go with the castle and the bird. Now, a lot of times I will really try to spend a lot of, time and effort to get a nice framing, such as in this photo or in this one right here. But it is just this is really just a snapshot. I saw the seagull, I tried to frame up the castle sort of in the background. It's not even in focus, you know, it's not even that great of a picture, but I think sometimes it's not about all of the technical stuff, but rather about the composition and the mood of it. Kurwa magic. Oh, I actually, you know, kurwa is actually the only word in Polish I know. It's quite weird. I have no idea where I even learned that one. Could you do a dramatic edit of the bird and castle? Huh. Like, do you guys think that it would be better in black and white? No, it really wouldn't, right? Like, I'm just gonna try out some things, and you guys can tell me what I should go for at the end. So, one, of course, kind of the dramatic, dark castle, you know, barely being visible and so on. The same thing, kind of in color, go for a very dramatic look and all of that. Low saturation and vibrance, and having dark background, a very big attention on the actual seagull. Again, I'm just doing this very roughly here. Then the other way would be to go for a very, you know, kind of regular edit where I go into a lot of saturation, make it very bright, very boring, and just kind of make it look like this. And then again, another edit would to actually go for an high key edit, go for a very bright sky. You know what? This might actually be better than I thought. Let me think about this. What if I would actually go for something like that? And just make it super artistic and barely even like it is a real photo. Like, what do you guys think about something like this? Like, something completely crazy and different. Maybe. So, let's see the chat here. Maybe black and white with split toning. Oh, that's actually a thing that I haven't even thought about. So, split toning, perhaps like a sepia look? I'm not sure. I'm not too big of a fan to add color into black and white pictures, but maybe it would work. I agree, too much emphasis on the technical on the internet. Well, I personally also like technical stuff, but sometimes it's really just not super important. Could you show another photos? Thanks. Sure, I'll just show you real quick my other photos while I'm waiting here for you guys to respond. This one is the best photo I've ever edited, by the way. The video is on YouTube from April 1st. But yeah, here are kind of some of my other photos. This one right here I've edited in the past live stream, so you can watch that if you want to see that one. This one I also edited previously, and after that one I've edited this one. But let's see here. Greetings from Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome, Joe. Greetings to Phoenix. Remove the twig. Yeah, I probably should do that. Could you lower the whole exposure so it looks like evening, and then do nice dodge and burning to imitate some sunlight? This is gonna be super hard in this kind of picture because it is overcast and there is almost no color here. You know, if I would do that, I could probably get it somewhat looking like a sunset, but it wouldn't really look that great if you ask me. Like, I could go here into the split toning, add some color, something like that, and then, you know, go further into the rail filters and so on, and add even further color differentiation, but it would just not really work if you ask me. Even if I would add a lot of warmth and so on. Yeah, it's just not the kind of picture where you could do that. You need at least some color and some blue sky for that, if you ask me. I think it will work in many ways. Yeah, something new? Perhaps that's a good idea. Show the boat image without edits. You can actually just go back on the live stream here. I showed the before and after plenty of times. High key is strange. It looks like edge of land left showing through the castle wall. Yeah, I don't know if high key is the right thing to go for here. Are you editing on a Mac or Windows? I hate how slow Lightroom is. I'm on Windows. It's a video workstation with 32 cores, GeForce Titan, and 96 gigabytes of RAM. Apparently, it's restrict to 4 cores. Yeah, like your setup is insane, by the way, but beyond 4 cores, it's not really gonna matter that much. I am editing on a Windows laptop, an Asus 501 ZenBook Pro VW it's called. It's like an i7 6700, then 16 gigs of RAM, and then PCIe SSD to all of the gearheads out there. But yeah, like your specs are gonna do amazing for like video editing, but for Lightroom, beyond 4 cores, beyond like 32 gigs of RAM, it doesn't really matter that much. Just go for a faster hard drive or SSD if you can. That's gonna have a much bigger difference. Hello from Vermont. Welcome from Vermont, Nicholas. I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining. And the ship picture is beautiful. Thank you very much, Joe. Greetings from a Basler from Wien in Austria. Well, greetings to you, man. Grüezi wohl, I assume. It's really weird if you suddenly speak another language while you speak English for so long. I wouldn't look that natural, but okay. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't look natural. Then just subscribed, good stuff. Well, I'm glad. Thank you very much for subscribing. Glad you enjoy the live stream. Is this a blended photo? I think I see the horizon through the castle walls. You see the horizon through the castle walls. Now, like, this is not a blended photo. This is really just a snapshot. Oh, this is actually quite cool. I didn't notice that, but it seems that just the shadow and kind of the stone here happens to match with the rest of the horizon. But no, it's not behind it. It's not blended in. It's really just a single photo. But that's a nice detail. I haven't even seen that. Greetings past 1 a.m. here. See you next time, and thanks again. Well, have a good night, Boris. You can always watch the live stream afterwards, but thank you for joining and hanging out. And I agree, Denise, strange. Okay. Well, anyways, I think this is a tough picture, but yeah. I think what I'm gonna do is actually go for kind of a saturated, dark, dramatic look. Usually, if you want to make something dark and dramatic, you also don't want to go overboard with the saturation, but here it might even work. And since this is the last edit, I'm gonna do it a little bit faster here, so I'm not gonna speak so much about the sliders, but rather just move them. So all of you guys who are perhaps a little bit more familiar with Lightroom won't get bored so much. But just something like this, adding, yeah, a little bit of clarity as well. And then the overall color temperature is of course very important. Let me actually try to get the right color temperature of this bird. Yeah, a little bit warm for my taste, so let's go back with some of these blue tones. And with the saturation, definitely plus saturation, plus vibrance. Now the thing is, I really don't like the tonality of this grass, so I'm gonna have to go into the HSL tool, go to the hue here. Again, this is not even really in focus because it's really just a snapshot of this bird. At least that guy's in focus. So gonna fine tune that here, perhaps make it even more reddish, and something like this. Yep, just like that. Then bring up the saturation even more, however, mostly in the greens and the orange tones. And then to the luminance, make this a bit darker, especially the orange tones, not so much the yellows, and fine tune everything here. So from before any HSL tool adjustments to after, much better in terms of the actual hue and color. But let's go into the tonal curve here. Now, yeah, I'm really thinking what I want to do here, but I think perhaps minus lights, a little bit of plus highlights, and then with the entire darks bring them up by a little bit, and in exchange go back with the minus shadows. So a little bit better. Now with the split toning, okay, this is gonna be quite tough, but let's actually start with the shadow split toning first. That's something that I usually never do. But here it should really actually work quite well if I add some blues. Yeah, something like that. And then just add some saturation. You know, like 40 saturation is more than I usually add in my shadows. But in combination with yeah, perhaps even some warm tones for the sky, although really just a hint and nothing too crazy. So I'm just going to show you the before and after so far, and this is also a great opportunity because I saw that this tint looks terrible. So, yeah, I think it is kind of getting there. It certainly needs some more vignetting. So let's go down here and go into the vignetting, add a lot of it, can tell you that much already, and something like that. Yeah, something like that should work pretty well. If you have anything to add or, you know, anything to suggest so far, let me know, because otherwise I believe I'm gonna go into the local adjustments and try to really work on the exposure and the darkness and mood of the picture. So chat, I have missed some of these questions, no doubt, but I'm gonna try to keep up with them right now. So the branch top left has to go. Yep, that guy has to go in a second. Watching your vids for years and relay what you teach to your 200-member photo club here in Sun City, Arizona. Thanks for all of your insights in the use of Lightroom. Well, that's awesome to hear, man. Like, I'm glad you think they're good enough to teach to another 200 people. I didn't know about the Sun City Photo Club in Arizona. Probably not. Probably because I don't live there or anywhere near, but are you guys like a Facebook group, or is it actually a physical meeting or something? Would be interesting to hear. I don't know if I like the color or black and white photo for that. It's tough. I go through this many times when editing my photos. Yeah, especially with these kind of photos, you know, where there isn't some amazing color, it is quite hard to decide from time to time. Let's just see how it looks in black and white with any of the split toning. Yeah, like the thing is, if I would go black and white, I would definitely go into the minus clarity for the mid-ground, because all of this, you know, all of this dirt and stuff here, it really doesn't work so well to be pronounced in black and white photos. What do you guys think? Like, if I check here, there are still 93 people watching, so please, if you type one message in all of this live stream, let me know, black and white, or should I stick with color? Black and white or color? I would try cropping a bit so the bird is the intersection of the thirds. How would I do? Oh, you mean like from the left? It makes it like more easy to understand, I guess, but at the same time it does lose some of the aerial view. But perhaps because there's already so much texture and stuff going on in this photo, it might even not be too bad if I would crop it from the left, would it? Yeah, like, I like this a lot better. That's actually a great suggestion. I wouldn't have even thought of that. Thank you very much. Who was it again? Man, I can't find you anymore. The chat. I don't like the mud in the middle, darken it. No, if I would make it too dark, it wouldn't really work, but I think I'm gonna do some minus clarity to kind of get rid of some of that texture. And then, is that rain on the right side? Is that rain? I actually don't know. I don't think it rained at that point, it's just kind of cloud. Then I'm in Sun City 2. Can you tell me more about the club? Yeah, please go ahead. We have a club room and are open for photo work 6 days a week with a full 5 PC lab. Oh, that's awesome. That's really, really cool. In black and white, the mat looks better. Black and white, color. Fine art would probably look nicer. Color. I like the color. Black and white, color. I like the black and white, but with the split toning, color. Alright, I see that color seems to be winning here, but I have to fine tune it a little bit more. I mean, yeah, it's really up to, personal decision. I do like the color in some parts, but in other parts it's really, not really necessary. Anyways, what I'm gonna do right now is just grab a rail filter here for the micron for all of this mud and go into like a lot of minus clarity, just kind of minus contrast, so there's at least less pronunciation on all of this texture of this mud here. And if I show you from before that one to after, it is at least a little bit more fluent with the rest of the photo. And Nicholas is saying, I have to admit, I do like the crop. The goal kind of leads you into the castle. Yeah, it really does. It leads you not only into the castle, but it also makes everything much more clear to understand. There's not anything going on to the left. For example, it doesn't really play a big role in this photo, so I do really think that this cropping works a lot better. Certainly with the placement of the seagull. Make the clouds a little bit more dramatic. Yep, I'm definitely gonna do so, but first of all, I kind of just want to figure out the overall, exposure and stuff. So, you know what? What I'm actually gonna do is make this very dark in the foreground, almost like this, and then also make it rather dark in the sky, but mix it with some contrast, with some minus blacks. Don't worry, it's gonna look a lot better once I'm done with the sky. But for now, I'm just kind of trying to see what I want to do here. Mix that with some plus whites, certainly some minus exposure, some warm tones, and some magenta. And then the great thing about Lightroom nowadays is that you can go, while you're in the graduated filter, just go to the brush, then hold down the Alt key and just brush away certain parts of this graduated filter. So you can, if you use a relatively soft feather, then you can really make it blend in and work super well. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but just kind of, a little bit better than before. Now look at that. So from before that one graduated filter to after, look at how much more these clouds pop. I love it. Then Kyumji Chun says maybe make the middle part, the grass part, a little bit brighter in the middle. You know what? I think I don't really want to make the entire part here brighter, because that would just not work for the entire mood. But what I do want to have is a continuous line from the seagull to here to the castle or something like that. So I think I'm already just going to enhance these areas that are the brightest in these respective areas. So gonna grab a rail filter plus exposure plus white and just kind of make that right here a little bit brighter. Might have to adjust, some of these things in specifically. But speaking of it, that definitely looks a lot better. And then just duplicating it for this tower, really just this area right here. And making this a bit brighter as well. So the whole idea of this is, by the way, if you don't have a continuous line, such as a road or a fence or something like that, then you can still kind of use a bright object and another bright object and then even another bright object to kind of, act as this line, at least sort of. So that's a great way of doing it. But while I'm at it, actually, I do believe that I have to go into the minus exposure here with just some other areas so it actually, doesn't look too bright and dull in the entire middle part of the grass here. So just gonna do that a bit. Again, that was really a great idea with the crop. I'm sorry I couldn't find your message anymore in the chat, but I do appreciate you letting me know that. That's another great thing about these live streams. Not only can you chat, ask questions, but also help me out, because there, 100 people are gonna see a lot more than just me. Yeah, a little bit more minus exposure again. Really narrow filters at this point, and going with some minus blacks here. I think that looks pretty good. So if you have any last ideas, perhaps I went a little bit overboard with this bright part, didn't I? So just mixing a bit more contrast in there. But if you have any last ideas, any touches I should do, then let me know. Making the clouds a little bit more dramatic. I think do you think I should make them even more dramatic? I can try it out. Why not? Why not? So going to minus blacks plus, a little bit clarity, but then go into the plus color temperature, minus saturate. Okay. I went a little bit overboard here, so let's go back into the history and really not go too far, because I can't really push it too much. Otherwise it will really start to look fake. But I think something like that is kind of the limit as far as I can go with the clouds here. Then Hyam says maybe make the middle part, the grass, a little bit brighter in the middle. Yep, I just did that right here. Then could you imagine if a raven or a falcon landed there instead of a seagull? That would look a lot better and a lot cooler. Definitely a raven. Maybe Photoshop, but, at least this bird is better than nothing. Then Nicholas is saying, could you imagine... Oh, I just read that. I'm an idiot. So Sunday says, good work on the grass. Thank you very much. Glad you liked how it looks. And his post was before you adjusted the clouds. Oh, I see. That makes a lot more sense. A bit plus exposure on the seagull, maybe. Yeah. I think you have a good point. So the thing is, the head of the seagull looks kind of, nice brightness if you ask me. But the rest around the seagull looks a little bit, almost a bit too dark. So what I'm gonna do here is add a rather big rail filter. You can see the effect is rather big. And just bring it over the entire seagull here. Then make this side a little bit smaller. And at the same time go into the minus highlight so I don't overblow the head itself. And just make this entire area a little bit brighter. And perhaps also kind of adjust some of the tint. So from before that one to after, I think that looks a little bit better, doesn't it? Perhaps I can show you even better if I go into the history here. So yeah, actually, it doesn't even work. See, that's the kind of things that you encounter in live streams, whereas you could just cut them out in regular videos. But yeah, a little bit brighter. Roof area looks too dark. Yeah, that's because I added so much, adjustment for the sky with this with the graduated filter here. But if I would go into the brush and, really fine adjust that and make sure not too much of the roof is selected, then I can certainly make that look a little bit better. But, I don't really want to spend 5 minutes on doing that here, because it's rather self-explanatory and boring, but I absolutely love the brush tool in the graduated filter now. So yeah, that looks a little bit better, doesn't it? Auto mask on the roof needed. Yep, I really hate auto mask because let me show you something. So if I zoom in here and I go over here with the adjustment brush and I have auto mask turned on, then look how it looks. Okay, so look at that. Look at that. It's just such a weird texture to this entire, this entire roof that it really doesn't work at all. Like, you have to go into Photoshop if you want to do auto masking or anything, but here the option in Lightroom is still as useless as 2 years ago, if you ask me. Nice work. Greetings from Hungary. Well, greetings to you, Etslav. Good that you could join. And as a black and white fan, I would turn it black and white and maybe add a little bit more contrast, says Lucas. Yeah. So, since you guys seem to be pretty fine with how the picture looks, I am as well, because it actually turned out much better than I thought. I mean, if you look at the difference from before the raw file here, it is a snapshot. I mean, it really is. I saw the seagull, I took a shot, and it kind of shows that that's all I did here. But after the editing, it seems to be actually quite good. Yeah. Anyways, going into black and white real quick and just removing at the very least the split toning here. Man, like, I'm really just stuttering here, but doesn't it look better in black and white? Look at how much more pronounced that seagull is. It looks so much more dramatic and dark compared to color, black and white, color, black and white. Alright, thank you very much for joining, Danny. Take care, and again, you can always watch the stream later on once it's processed. Overall, it looks nicely. And tough, yeah, indeed, Nicholas, it is very tough. I'm somewhat partial to the black and white. My profile is black and white. Yeah, I actually... like all of you guys who have black and white profiles, you probably prefer black and white, and you're still not sure with this picture, then that's maybe a sign for the color? It's like the color adds an additional layer, but does it need the additional layer? Isn't it just better more simplistically? It definitely looks more dark and more, yeah, more kind of old school, in black and white. Do you do any selective sharpening and then do a global noise reduction? I sometimes do selective sharpening if I want to have like more sharpening in the foreground than in the distance as a way of adding differentiation and kind of enhancing, the natural haze in the distance and the sharp nature of the foreground. But other than that, I don't really use too much, detail sharpening on local adjustments. For this picture, black and white is perfect. Great class, thank you. Well, thank you for joining, Dan. Glad you enjoy it. And Betant says, I vote for the color version. I don't think we're gonna agree on that. I don't even agree with myself. So maybe this is the right point to just call it quits and... yeah. Yeah, at least it's a nice problem to have to just decide whether it's color or black and white. Personally, I think black and white just looks better. Because of the difficult light, black and white seems not the baddest selection. Thanks, Yuri, for the live stream. Yeah, it's really not that great light for color, and the entire, overcast scene is really not bringing any colors either. So I'm just gonna keep it in black and white, but if you enjoy the color more, then that's completely fine. But I think this is where I'm gonna end the live stream instead of just sitting here for another half an hour switching between the color and the black and white version. Yeah. So, I guess to everybody who's watching this live, thank you very much for joining and, saying hi, being in the chat, and giving me advice, because that's also nice to kind of have some help from you. And to everybody who's watching this afterwards on YouTube, after it is not live anymore, then, well, thank you as well for watching, but just be sure to, well, that it won't really bring you much at the end, but if you type a comment afterwards in the YouTube video, then I won't immediately see it and will be able to answer to it in the video, of course. Yeah, I should have probably mentioned that at the start. In any case, though, like, if you've enjoyed this video, you can give it a like or a dislike if you didn't. Helps me to see which kind of videos you've enjoyed, what you don't. And, of course, YouTube honestly ranks videos higher with a lot of likes. So, if you want to help me out that way, that is a great way to do so. But, yeah, what else is there? I think the stream has been live for about over 1.5 hours. So if you've been here since the start, you must be quite crazy, but I do appreciate it, and hopefully that means that it was at least somewhat helpful and interesting. So yeah, keep in mind the April 1st video was not serious in any way. It was mainly to make fun of me and my own editing. So yeah, if you disliked that video and you really thought I was serious, please just know that it wasn't serious at all. And other than that, I'm gonna sign out here. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much, Steve. Always, you've been here for a long while. Same with you, Sundays BN, and a lot of other ones that, I don't recognize because there are a lot of people in the chat, which is awesome. Will Eastburn, thanks Yuri for the black and white. Well, thank you as well for watching. And Nicholas, you've also been here for quite some time. So yeah, I'm gonna edit I'm gonna post a video of like a shorter edit in a few days, perhaps next week, and after that I'll just see, perhaps do another live stream next week. I certainly enjoy them, but yeah, for now, I'm just gonna sign out. That's always the weirdest part to end videos, because like you spend so much time talking to people that you don't just want to end it, but at the same time you don't want to sit here for 5 minutes and just say goodbye over and over again. So I'm gonna say a last time, thank you very much and goodbye.